How's it going, guys? So you may remember about a year ago I released a series of videos where I scuba dived the Red Sea in Egypt. Well, as you can probably tell behind me, and because of the sun, I'm back there again. And this time I'm scuba diving in a different season. So last time I scuba dived, it was at the back end of winter, so the water was a lot cooler. This time it's October, so the water's a lot warmer, so there's lots of different fish about, a chance at really big stuff as well. So come along with me, let's go scuba diving in Egypt once again. My name's Adam and welcome to Nature Scope. The first dive site on the trip was Ras Bob. This is one we did last time we were here. It's a fairly shallow dive, a circular one, with opportunities to see some really cool coral and really cool fish. This was more of a tester dive. This was so that the dive guides could see what level we're at. It was great to be back in some warm water again with some colourful fish. UK diving is great, but it never quite hits the same as diving abroad and seeing all those incredible fish. One of the big highlights of this dive was this huge colony of garden eels. These eels, you can see them in the distance, they're just about sticking out the sand. So they'll stick out the sand when nothing's going on, and whenever a predator comes near, they'll instantly dip back down in the sand for safety. The main reason that they do this is they sort of anchor themselves into the sand, and any current that goes past them, they can feel it, they can turn into the current, and they'll eat tiny bits of plankton and plant matter as it passes by. So basically it's a really smart way for these eels to get their food. The food comes to them, they don't go to it. There were plenty of colourful fish around, like this parrotfish for example, that swam by after it had finished eating some coral. One of the unfortunate things about diving in Egypt is that a lot of the coral is bleached, so you'll notice the coral is white, and this basically means that the coral is dead. The bacteria that live inside the coral that allow it to survive have left it because they've got too hot, and it's caused the coral to lose its colour and die. But every so often you see these really beautiful pieces of coral. There's lots of yellows and reds that sort of spring up amongst the white bits that give you some hope that the coral here is surviving. And that's it from the first dive at Ras Bob. This was really just a tester dive, so I didn't film too much. I was focused on getting used to being back in the water again. Finish off with these really cool clams, and then it was back on the boat to head off to our second dive site. The second dive of the day took us to Ras Nasrani. This is a drift dive, so for those of you that don't dive, this basically means you jump into the water and the current takes you on the dive. You don't really need to fin that much, you're just being sort of dragged along, and eventually you pop up and the boat knows where you are because it knows the area and it knows the currents in the waters so well. Opportunity to go down to 30 metres if you really want on this dive, and we had to keep an eye out to the right hand side of us off into the blue in case there was any big stuff swimming by. Straight off the bat on this dive we noticed a lot more colourful corals, and there was plenty more fish swimming around them. This beautiful yellow sort of table brain coral thing was absolutely stunning, and there was plenty more to see, including this fan coral. Around about 5 minutes into the dive, our dive guide turned around and gave us the signal that there was a turtle. It was absolutely amazing. I'd never seen a turtle before, and this green sea turtle came swimming by. It stuck around us for around 2 or 3 minutes, so I got some amazing footage of it. It was absolutely incredible, and like I said, I'd never seen a turtle in the wild before, so I was absolutely buzzing to see one. You'll notice sometimes in the footage that it's actually really hard to spot the turtle. The colours of it almost blend in with the sea wall and the corals behind it. This just goes to show how good the camouflage of the turtle is. As with most turtles in the world, unfortunately, the population of green sea turtles is really struggling. Worldwide, there's thought to only be a maximum amount of around 90,000 breeding females left of the green sea turtle. So it's important we do what we can now to try and protect them, because just looking at the footage, it's amazing being able to see them out in the wild. Despite all the excitement of the turtle, we still kept an eye on the blue to our right hand side, and this jackfish came swimming on by. We spotted the first moray eel of the trip sitting amongst a tiny piece of coral. They're usually amongst a sea wall in a really big area. This one was absolutely massive. If you look really closely, you can see the back end of it here. It was probably around 1.5 meters long. Absolutely huge. Whilst we were busy staring at the moray eel, this huge Napoleon fish came creeping up behind us. This was easily about 1.5 meters long, and it was really curious of what we were doing. It seemed really interested in the GoPro for some reason, but it meant we could get really close to it without actually bothering the animal. It was really comfortable to come this close to us. As the Napoleon fish swam away, we noticed that there was 2 blue-spotted stingrays hidden underneath the rock and the coral. Blue-spotted stingrays are quite common in the Red Sea. You see them almost every dive, but they never fail to amaze me. They have these beautiful blue spots all over them, as the name suggests. It's almost like a neon electric blue. They're absolutely stunning. The second one was perched just to the right hand side of it, underneath another bit of coral. You often see one on their own, but I haven't seen 2 this close before, so that was pretty cool. As we came to the end of the dive, there were some more absolutely stunning fan corals on display, and we also saw some really cool trumpet fish. These fish are really long and really thin. They're probably around 1 meter long. They're pretty big. They're always cool to see. They use those huge snouts that you can see on them to suck up shrimp, and I'm guessing the length of their body just helps them to digest that. And that was it from Ras Nasrani, a really cool dive with the eel, the stingrays, the Napoleon fish, and of course the turtle. We had a short surface interval before our final dive of the day on Near Garden. Near Garden is a fairly shallow dive site, only really going to about the 20-meter mark, and it's all about the corals on this dive. There's loads of table corals and loads of fan corals scattered throughout. We were once again treated to another Napoleon fish. This one didn't really want to stick around us and wasn't too keen in coming close to us, so it just passed by around 5 meters ahead, but still really cool to see. The camera doesn't pick it up very well, but this is why it's always worth keeping an eye out to the blue when you're diving in Egypt. This was a huge spotted eagle ray. This structure can also be spotted on the dive. This was placed there so that new corals could be grown onto it, just to see how they'd cope, and you can see the corals are still young, but not many of them are really white. They've all still got some colour in them, which is really nice to see. If you look closely amongst the coral, you can see these things moving. They're sort of moving on their own individually, I'm assuming feeding on little bits of plankton that come along. At first glance you might think this is some sort of bird that's fell underwater, but it's actually a starfish. This is a spinose feather starfish, and it uses the little branches of its feathers to catch plankton in the current so that it can eat. They're usually found during the night and not really out during the day, so this was a really cool and rare spot. I did a bit of a zoom in on this yellow lettuce coral just to show you how much life is teeming amongst it. Often if you manage to get close to the corals, you'll see small fish that you wouldn't have seen with the naked eye just swimming along. There's absolutely loads of stuff living on the corals, and it just gives you a little insight into why these habitats are so important for other animals and other fish. These little fish were probably the most bizarre thing I saw on the entire trip to Egypt. Nobody else seemed to have spotted them, but there were these tiny fish that moved together in formation. I'm assuming maybe eating stuff off of the seafloor. I've tried my hardest to find out what these fish are, and I can't see anything anyway. If anybody has any idea what these fish are, please do let me know, because their behaviour was absolutely amazing. They stayed sort of in a semicircle the entire time, moving as one, but there was easily probably 200-300 fish there. And that concluded our final dive of the day. Overall, I think it was a pretty impressive day's diving. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave us a like, it really helps us out. Comment down below, have you been scuba diving in Egypt? What was the coolest thing you saw there? Let me know in the comments section. And subscribe to Naturescope to not miss a future video. We've got plenty more coming through this year and next year. Cheers again, bye bye.